So, conceptually, I've wanted to do this kind of show pretty much since the start of my writing career, and I pitched a version of it back in like 2008 that went nowhere. So, and luckily for me, I ended up with the Vampire Diaries about a minute later, so that launched this whole world. But in terms of when I really felt like I could make it a series in this franchise was when we decided to do an age jump to make Hope 7 and 8 years old and 10 years old and not a baby in the middle of the originals. And then all of a sudden I saw a path to be able to create a really strong, unique ingenue, and that I could put her into the world that I've always wanted to build. And we were still doing Vampire Diaries at the time, and I'd always wanted Alaric to kind of be the headmaster of that school. And so I thought, well, you know what? Now he has daughters, and they're witches, and they're trouble. And so what if Alaric and Caroline together could find a place and build a place for these kids? And then eventually we could, you know, have a show. It could have a show of its own.
What is the most exciting thing about go from vampires to, you know, like in some ways you have like 3 different shows, but at the same time it's all from the same universe?
Yeah, it's funny because usually you start with the young ones and then you age them up, and I aged up and then went backwards to go back to the teenagers. I think that is the fun of it. I mean, the originals is a show about a family dynasty over a millennia, and to be able to say, well, this is the next generation of that family is so cool. And then Mystic Falls has had centuries of vampire history, and now to say, well, we've got the new generation coming back into this town that has basically had its history rewritten, so they don't even know what that town has been through. It's so fun. I'm really enjoying it.
So is some of that vampire history going to come back into Legacies? Like if you watch the Vampire Diaries, you're going to see all these like Easter eggs.
There's definitely going to be a lot of Easter eggs in Mystic Falls specifically. Little hints and references to the past characters, past mythology, and that kind of thing. We're having a lot of fun with it, so it's like if you haven't watched the show, you wouldn't even notice what you're doing, but if you have, you can kind of get a little bit of a wink and a nod out of it.
Will Klaus have any role in this Legacies world?
You know, Klaus will have the role that he's meant to have with his daughter. You know, like he obviously isn't with her because she's at a boarding school, so we'll have to see what kind of parenting that means when we get there.
Yeah, and we've only seen Hope through the scope of being with her family and being supported by her family. Like, how will her support system change when she's at the school? Because this is going to be more high school, more focused on her. How is it going to change?
Hope, in spite of having had like a super chaotic, crazy, damaged, dysfunctional family, was also deeply loved. And I think that one of the transitions of being a student at the school was that she's made this decision to self-isolate, probably because she has a lot going for her in her home environment, but has also been through a lot of pain. So she kind of goes out of her way to piss people off, which is awesome. And she's a little snarky and a little aloof, and people think she's kind of stuck up. But it's a protective measure, and so it's actually a really fun version of the character that we're enjoying writing.
Is it gonna delve much into just her being a young woman and not just her powers?
It really, the show lives in both worlds so well. It is about kids with supernatural powers who are different than other people and who are just trying to get through the day without like imploding. But with that comes all the great roots of romance and best friends and school and like the fights you have with your frenemies and trying to deal and navigate the relationships with your parents and with the local kids who of course like go out of their way to torment and provoke our kids into some kind of, you know, some kind of conflict. So there is a day-to-day coming of age spine to the show that I'm really enjoying.
High school kids, like the smart kids, this jugs, us. Will we see a little bit of that as well?
You know, we actually were talking about how to differentiate the groups, and you know, we've got different factions. You've got werewolves, vampires, witches, all trying to live harmoniously under one roof, which of course has never been done before. So we're sort of having fun with that. The vampires are like the cool kids, and the werewolves are sort of like the sportos, and the witches are the mean girls. And it's been hilarious, like bringing them to life like that.
How sad is it to be ending the originals, or is this exactly where you wanted it to come to in this journey?
I really wanted to be able to give the originals a true ending. I didn't want it to be ambiguous. The show started with Elijah determined to find redemption for Klaus, and after living 1,000 years of codependence, really getting his brother to understand that he is loved. And I really feel like the series delivers on that wholeheartedly, and being able to see how this family goes on to whatever conclusion each character is going to get, happiness, peace, resolution, or redemption, was our goal, and I think we did that well. People might not like it, but I think we did it well.
In the original Vampire Diaries, we've always been emotionally devastated. Like it's fun, it's campy sometimes, but yes, there are emotionally devastating moments. Is it going to be the same thing for Legacies? Are we going to be like hurt, the feelings?
The feelings are going to be real. The feelings are real. You know, I just write like that. Like, I like to cry and laugh and love all in the body of a single episode. I do think that one shift, and this might turn out to be completely wrong because we're just starting to write. We've got about 5 episodes written. Is in the beginning of Vampire Diaries, Kevin felt very strongly that no one could be safe, that like anybody could die at any point, and characters were often created in order to be killed. And I feel like that was a really bold and exciting and thrilling and novel way to do television storytelling back then that everybody has sort of adopted over the years. And so it's like no character anywhere is safe anymore. So I'm going to have fun with trying to figure out how to keep my characters alive for a little while. There's no conflict in happiness, though, so you got to find ways to shake it up.
If you could define the tone, basically, of Legacies, what would you say it is?
You know, I think it's heightened honesty. It's real world with sort of real world with a splash of color. You know, it's a little bit funnier, a little bit snarkier, a little bit more youthful, a little bit more energized, but still that kind of voice that we lived in for so long, just with like some more attitude.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, honestly, like it's funny talking about it because we literally only have like I'm rewriting 4 right now, so we're finding it as we go as well, and finding what works. We'll start to really understand with the actors what they're good at, what they're not good at. We start to adopt characteristics of them, you know, into their voice. So it's an ever-evolving, fluid process, but it's been a lot of fun to write because we're not holding back from the jokes. Vampire Diaries, we really held back from the jokes. Damon got the jokes, you know, and everyone else had to play it pretty straight. And so this is more. Everyone's got a little bit of that extra sass in their step, which I really like. Yeah.
Last question. I was going to ask, this is a coming-of-age story, young woman. How has everything that's been happening in 2018, the Me Too movement, has that affected how you write her journey? Like
that has affected everything, and in a good way. I mean, in a hard way, because I mean, I talked about it at the panel, and I made a joke about it, but it's really true. Like. One of the very first decisions that we made with this show is that of the vampires at the boarding school would actually be teenagers and not 100-year-old vampires. I think that with Bill and Sookie and Edward and Bella and then Stefan and Damon and Elena a decade ago, there was something sort of gothic and romantic and awesome about this like old, like eternally youthful guy chasing after this young, pure, like not, if not the virgin, at least the tonal version. And that's just like a completely antiquated dynamic now, I think, in this day and age. I think that women don't need to be pursued in that way. I don't think they need to be the sort of victims in that way. I don't think they need to be the pedestal dainty ingenues while the big bad boy comes in and sweeps them off their feet. I think that they can carry the weight of their own strength and their own fierce power and not need to be the object of anyone's desire.
Like hope so powerful. She doesn't need.
Yeah, and so it's like our vampire right now, this kid MG, is hilarious because he's kind of a nerd, but like he's so cool and so energized and awesome. But he loves Lizzie Saltzman with all his heart, and she's just like not having it, not having it. And that's the vampire of our show right now. Of course, you know, we'll open that world up and get more, you know, broody, sexy Paul Wesley types. But that's the difference, the singular difference.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.